Hey everyone, welcome to Locked In, the channel that brings the best college football intel to the modern fan. We appreciate all of you who've watched our channel and would love for you to become part of the channel by clicking the subscribe button. This will help us become more visible on YouTube and help us achieve our goal of raising football IQs everywhere through in-depth analysis in plain English. Thanks everyone. Stay locked in. So, after breaking down the 2024 national championship game between Michigan and Washington, there are a handful of things that we can say about this game. First of all, we can say from all of the film study that we put in leading up to this game, all the, I guess you could say, the analysis of both teams' seasons, even in some regards, especially Washington's earlier games, like perhaps Wyoming running the ball so successfully against them, Arizona State playing a defense and even style of offense that was quite similar to what Michigan would show against them. I think we can conclude that we were quite correct in our assessment of how this game would go. The things I think that stand out as maybe the X factors in the game, things that interest me from it. For Michigan, I think that Edwards, their running back, came out of nowhere. He didn't make much of an impact against Alabama, and boy, did he make an impact against Washington from the get-go. Um, on the Washington side, the thing that surprised me, I guess, on both sides of the ball, what surprised me, the Washington defense got very good in the middle of the game. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough for them to stop the Michigan running game. We said they had to run the ball. We said they were going to run the ball. They did run the ball. That's what led the Wolverines to the victory. For the Washington offense, maybe it surprised some. I've heard excuses made, in various ways. Maybe, some people, Michigan's defenders, they held the receivers, whatever. True X factor on the Washington side that didn't come through and needed to come through was Michael Penix. He had to step up and play the game of a lifetime, much like he did against Texas. He just didn't quite do it. He had his pieces. I think for the most part they worked. There were times, though, that I think that he got a little security blanket-esque with certain receivers, and he missed things. But I don't think that's a discredit to Penix. I think that that's a credit to the Michigan defensive strategy, which we knew was going to be interesting and we knew was going to likely dominate. That being said, is there anything else that we want to say about this game?
Yeah, I mean, Michigan ran the ball well. And honestly, in the second half, I wouldn't really give up credit to Washington's defense, or at least that much credit. They did adjust and they did do better putting men in the box. But at the same time, Michigan got way too cute with what they were doing and just started running things that weren't really there, like their pass plays that Washington had locked down with their corners, and we knew that their corners and their linebackers and all their DBs had an elite level of pass defense and that they were bad against the run. Well, Michigan said, "Hey, we're up. We've been running the ball. We've ran the ball for over 250 yards. Let's try throwing the ball now." It didn't really work out for them. It stopped the play clock. Didn't really get them many yards. Got them a few turnovers on downs. So I mean, I think they got a little too big for the boots there in the second half, but ultimately running the ball won them the game. I agree with Walk. Penix didn't really show out. He was pressured and made a few error throws and had a few turnovers, which really cost them the game big time. But I'd say that they really probably needed to use the screen pass a lot more than they did, and they used it quite a bit. So I think next year, if Washington comes in with Norvell again, which I don't think Norvell will be there, I think if they come in again with better linebacker play, then I think they'll be all right. But I just think that linebacker play held them back this year.
You meant the Boar. Norvell's at FSU.
Yeah.
It's all good. My thoughts on it. really echoing what these guys are talking about. I will give some credit to Washington's defense. There were times where they sold out for the run and they were able to stop it. But then there were other times, and this is kind of what Chance is alluding to, where Michigan would still pick up 3-4 yards with a run game, and they would get away from it. I think they felt like that wasn't enough for them because what they averaged in the first quarter and the beginning of the second was a lot higher, 7-8 yards a carry. And I think at one point it was higher than that because of Edwards' breakout runs. So I think maybe that they thought that with Washington selling out so hard, okay, we can take advantage of their pass defense. And I get that going into this game, I think people were talking about they were around 100, 110 pass defense as far as stats go. But when you watch the film, Michigan's pass defense is much better than what they're rated. And actually, I think DeBoer, or one of been the defensive coordinator, came out and said, we understand that our stats don't look good, but we get on top of teams pretty early and they have to throw the ball. And we're playing sometimes prevent. So, there are teams that are kind of padding stats against our pass defense. And that might just be an excuse. But when you watch the film, their run defense is much worse than their pass defense, and their DBs play very well. So going into this game, we felt like their strength was their pass defense, and that did, reign true for the most part. Because when they had to sell out for the run, they were able to stop a lot of the pass game that Michigan tried to run. Michigan tried to run a couple screens that just flat out didn't work out. But there were still a couple opportunities that Michigan had that they didn't put Washington away where I felt like they could. And they could in the first quarter, at the beginning of the second quarter, they scored a touchdown on that third drive. You're talking about 21-3. That's a big difference from what you see that happens in the game. And then multiple drives after that, they get away from what they were doing really well at. A combination of their play calling and also Washington's defense. I think both of those things affected them. And in the second and third, most of the second quarter and almost all the third quarter, there's not a lot of good offensive play by either team, and there's better defensive play. And then for Penix, you expect him to play better in this game, and he didn't. You're talking about the Texas game. He was 29 for 38, 430 yards and 2 touchdowns, 0 sacks. In the Michigan game, he was 27 for 51 for 255 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. So clearly a much worse game for him. There was 1 sack in the Michigan game, which was happened in the second quarter. He got bull rushed, but it wasn't the sack numbers that were impressive for Michigan's pass rush. It was just the pressure they were putting on him, the hits, the knockdowns, the quarterback hurries. Those are not stats that you see talked about very often, but they do really affect the mental play of a quarterback, especially one that is not used to getting hit. He's only been sacked 11 times this year. So a combination of Michigan's pass rush affecting Penix and Michigan's defensive backfield, for the most part, holding up pretty well. They were able to just overcome what has been a very good Washington offense. And then, as we talked about on the other side of the ball, especially bookended with the first and fourth quarter, Michigan ran the ball over the yard, and that was what they needed to do to win. They knew that. When they got back to their run game, they were able to do it effectively and took advantage of poor gap responsibility from Washington, poor reads by linebackers and safeties just going in wrong positions that were in run support. And then just, overall bad run fits that Washington just couldn't fully get over by the time the fourth quarter came around. So great game by Michigan. They controlled the game for the most part the whole way through. A couple big plays by McCarthy to keep them in it, keep their offense rolling. And then, just Washington just was not able to do enough. Like we figured there would be way more that Washington had to do correct to win this game versus Michigan. Michigan just had a lot more simple of a game plan to be able to win this game. They were able to execute it, and they got the win. And congratulations to the Michigan Wolverines.
With all that being said, we will break down the film and have an in-depth analysis for all our fans out there. So for the Locked In crew, this is Logan, this is Chance, and this is Locke, and we'll catch y'all later.
Everyone here at Locked In wants to say thank you to all of you who have subscribed to, liked, and commented on our channel. We've got a blast bringing great college football analysis to you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button. If you want to share your thoughts, we'd love to see your comments. Till next time, stay locked in.